Oh, this is gonna be fun to edit. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be reacting to all of my TBRs from 2022. Before we get into anything bookish, however, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, do you do TBRs and how well do you do at completing them? Okay, so this is actually a new video for my end of year wrap up, but it sounded like a lot of fun and I was curious to see how well do I actually do at completing my TBRs. Sometimes I feel like I do fantastic, other times not so much. And we're gonna see how I fared, starting out with January. Seventh Grave and Nobody by Dorinda Jones. Oh, I think by this point I had actually finished this book when I filmed this video, so obviously, yes, I read that one. Also, this is upside down. Also get to the Eighth Grave, After Dark. I think I read that in January also. Is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I know I read The Worst Best Man because I had to complete it for a video, so. The first volume of Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider. I think this is Spider-Geddon. I did read Spider-Gwen. Is The 2000s Made Me Gay by Grace Perry, as well as The 2000s Made Me Gay. That was a pretty entertaining nonfiction read. Is Never Fall for Your Fiancé by Virginia Heath. First one I did not do. No, Never Fall for Your Fiancé did not happen. I actually think I ended up returning it to the library. This was a Regency era, I think Regency era. I don't know. It was a historical fiction romance. It was a pick one of my friends had for our personal book club, and that's just a type of romance that I personally have no interest in. So first up is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. I did read Well Met, also had to read that for 2 separate videos, I think. Is Our Violet Ends by Chloe Gong. Guys, I'm so happy to have this in my hands. Also read Our Violet Ends, even though I have not continued with the follow-up series yet, and I'm very ashamed about it. Is A Winter's Orbit by, oh, I don't know the author, Everina Maxwell. Read Winter's Orbit and loved it, surprisingly. The other book for this video is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Did not finish A Touch of Darkness, however. And okay, that was it for my January, so not terrible. I mean, only 2 of those I didn't read. Okay, February marked the start of my testing out TBRs, which I did have a final conclusion of that, which you will see in January's TBR coming out soon. I think I'm gonna go with a novella, which is A Shimmer in the Night by Kelly York and Rowan Altwood. I did read A Shimmer in the Night by Kelly York and Rowan Altwood, although I have not finished out that series yet, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm ashamed about it. I talked about that in my series of series video if you're interested. Girl A by Abigail Dean. I believe this recently came out as a limited series, or it's being turned into a limited series. I did read Girl A, probably shouldn't have, but I did. So I'm going to go with Harley Quinn Volume 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Also read my Harley Quinn comic book. This is a comic book series I have done an awful job in continuing, though I do know my library has the rest of the series.
You see the treats? You see the treats? Go get them. Which one do you want? Okay. Okay. So we're going with The Trouble with Hating You by Sanji Patel.
This was a faith pick, and of the 3 options I gave her, I think I read every single one of them in February. So that was The Trouble with Hating You, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and Meet Cute Club. I actually read all 3 of those in February. And then the one book I forgot to talk about was my nonfiction, I Want to Be Where the Normal People Are. Also read this one, absolutely hilarious. And that is it for February, so I did a fantastic job there. Look at me. But let's see about March. I ended up going with Kingsman by Mark Miller. The Secret Service by Mark Miller. I did read this, was a letdown, but I read it. She went with The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. The Wolf and the Woodsman. Oh, I read this in March. I thought it was February. Oh well. But yes, read this, loved it, adored it. I want to reread it. Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. Also read Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. That finished out a series for me. So for 20, it is an anticipated read, which of course I have to go with Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And Anxious People, that was a 5-star prediction, but unfortunately it was not 5 stars. I did really enjoy it though. So on that note, I'm going to be picking Bad Blood by John Carrier. I'm so sorry, I'm pronouncing this really badly. Bad Blood was my nonfiction pick. Did read this, still haven't watched the TV shows or documentary that I said I was going to. The Difficult Women Route by Roxane Gay, since that was on my 10 books I want to read in 2022 list. And then another pet pick, I did read 2 out of these 3. I read an ebook, which ended up being Difficult Women by Roxane Gay. I also read 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. I did eventually read The Starless Sea, but it wasn't this month. This month's pick is A Strange Beasts of China by Yang Gi. Also read Strange Beasts of China, which I think was another, could have done without reading that one, honestly. Okay, so once again, I mean, technically speaking, Starless Sea wasn't an official pick for this TBR, but I still did a fairly good job. In April, I did Sam from Griff Reads' I'm a Booktuber, Get Me Out of Here, and she did my rolls for me, and I had so many. I think I had more than she usually gets. So my pick is gonna be Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar, I can't get that word out, Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I did read Miss Peregrine's. It was okay. I probably would have loved this when I was younger. I think it's called Never Look Back by Lilian Rivera. Also read Never Look Back by Lilian Rivera because it was for a video. For other, I decided to use this as my comic book pick for the month, so I'm going to be going with Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, Impossible Year. This is volume 2 by Shauna Maguire and Takashi Miyazawa, as well as the next volume of Spider-Gwen because those were really easy and that also finished out a series. I decided to go with the one standalone, which is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Oh, okay, there we go. There's The Starless Sea, which, like I said, I did eventually read. So for a thriller, I think I'm going to be going with The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I picked this up last month and also read The Book of Cold Cases. It felt like so many different book clubs had this as an option for their book club read. So I had to read it because then I could participate in all of them. And that one worked out to be 𝗖cie by Angela Chen. This is only around 200 pages. Then I also read 𝗖cie by Angela Chen to Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Heron Blake. Then jumped on the bandwagon and read Delilah Green Doesn't Care because it felt like everybody was reading it. For the personal book club I do with my friends, I am hoping to get to The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. If I remember correctly, I actually read The Last Thing He Told Me at the end of March, so I did get it read, just not in April. So one is a advanced reader copy, and that is Queerly Beloved by Susie Drummond. Queerly Beloved, I unfortunately ended up DNFing to Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This is another thriller that I have on my shelf. I did read Survive the Night and, like most everybody else, was let down. But that is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. Ugh, this starts when I said I was gonna read My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So many pronouns in that. I don't remember how many TBRs this was on, but I never actually read it. I think I checked it out from the library 3 different times and it just continuously kept getting returned. So all in all, another relatively completed TBR. Oh my god. May's was Jenga from Rise Reading Corner, and I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. This shit took me 4 times to film. I had such a difficult time with this Jenga setup. I don't know why. Usually I'm fairly good at Jenga, but this game kicked my ass. Their pick is The Good for Nothings by Danielle Banas. The Good for Nothings, I actually ended up DNFing. I just wasn't really meshing with it at the time. I'm going to start with Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This is the second book in the Well Met series. I did read Well Played, and apparently I'm definitely in the minority by enjoying this book. I'm going to pick Yes and I Love You by Ronnie Lauren. I did read Yes and I Love You, and I adored it. I'm going to go with The Trouble with 12th Grave by Dorinda Jones. Also read The Trouble with the 12th Grave. Haha, this worked out very well. So My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. See, here it is again. My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. Did not get read in that month either. Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. I also recently picked this up in my book shopping vlog. But I did read Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Also planning to read The Giver by Lois Lowry this month, as well as The Giver by Lois Lowry. And that is Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. And Fake It Till You Bake It. This month I am gonna knock out Piper by Jay Asher and Jessica Freeberg. Piper by Jay Asher and Jessica Freeberg kind of feels like cheating because I read all of it in one sitting the last day of the month, but I did read it. So technically speaking, I didn't read 2 of these books. I would still say I did fairly well on this TBR. Now, my June TBR was more like a pile of possibilities, but I think I still did a fairly good job of reading most of these books. Let's see. You guessed it, it is Emily Henry's works, and first, with these 2, I have actually already read them, but they are perfect beach reads, so I thought it would be very smart to bring them with me while I'm going on vacation, because they will perfectly match the atmosphere I am going to be in. On top of that, I would love the chance to reread these and annotate them, since I did enjoy the both of them so much the first time around. But on top of that, I also want to read her newest work, Book Lovers. Of the 3 Emily Henry books I took with me, I only did not read People We Meet on Vacation for a book club, which is Passing by Nella Larson for the Booked Since the 90s book club. I did listen to the audiobook of Passing by Nella Larson on the plane ride back, and that is Bet on It by Jody Slaughter. Also read Bet on It by Jody Slaughter for a ARC reading vlog and really enjoyed that one. So starting out is the last book in the Charlie Davidson series, Summoned to the 13th Grave. Did officially finish my reread of the Charlie Davidson series with the 13th book. Shoot, what's it called? Graveyard Shift. After that one is 13.6, which is the Gravedigger's Son. As well as read the next 2 novellas to finish out the series. I still haven't finished out that last 3rd novella, but that's not the end of the world. And that is First Comes Like by Alisha Rai. Finished another series, the Modern Love series by Alisha Rai, with First Comes Like. Is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca, and this is the 3rd in her Well Met series. I have read Well Matched by Jen DeLuca, but it wasn't during this month. I don't remember when I read it. The start of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Also haven't read Killjoy by Holly Jackson. I thought my library had this, but since checking back later, it apparently doesn't. So yeah, I've never actually gotten around to this because I don't particularly like paying money for physical novellas. Oh, okay, I guess that's it. So I read most of them. There were 3 that didn't actually get read. That's still pretty good though. Oh God, my July TBR did not go well. I know that for a fact. I did love this TBR game though, because it was a lot more random, but I didn't do great with this one. I know that. Bad Girls Never Say Die by Jennifer Matthew. See, right out of the gate, Bad Girls Never Say Die. I have read this book. Did not happen in July, however. Oh, perfect. Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a mostly true memoir by Jenny Lawson. I did read Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson, though. Horrid by Katrina Leno. Oh, and Horrid by Katrina Leno. Okay, so this worked out very well. This is the start in a Ace of Shades is one that is actually still on my currently reading on Goodreads, but I have not touched this book since August. Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. I read the entirety of Allegedly in a single day because I could not stop listening to the audiobook, so yes, did read that one. Probably my favorite Tiffany D. Jackson book. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. I actually don't currently own this, but I did recently buy it from somebody, so... Oh, I actually did read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Very similar vibes to A Man Called Ove, which I read right around the same time, which was very ironic. First up is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I actually ended up DNFing Spoiler Alert, unfortunately, but I did attempt to read it from NetGalley, and that is The Fixer Upper by Laura Forsyth. Did read The Fixer Upper, but that's because I had an ARC reading vlog planned, so kind of had to. To get read is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Did read The Last House on Needless Street because I was determined to get started on my October 5x5 as early as possible. Oh, so I guess, you know what? In reality, I didn't do nearly as bad as I thought I did. I felt like I did way worse with this one. Maybe it's just because I didn't read a ton that month. That might be why. So funny, I was going into a reading slump at the beginning of August, but that was my best reading month of the year. This TBR should be mostly completed. That is King of Fools by Amanda Foody. This is the second book in the Shadow Game series, I think is what it's called. Seeing as how I never finished Ace of Shades, obviously I did not continue the series with the second book. Probably pick up Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. Nor did I ever read Daughter of the Moon Goddess, but I actually do have a valid excuse for this one. I put myself on hold for the physical form of the library book and it never got returned. Literally never. I have never been told, hey, this book finally came back in. So I think they ended up having to charge the person before me for it and just haven't bought a new physical copy. I do still want to read it though. Is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I did read A Dowry of Blood, most of it within a single day because it's a fairly short audiobook. And that is Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake by Maisie Eddings. I buddy read it with 2 different people, so that's probably why, because they held me accountable. This one I have is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. Here's where I read Well Matched, so yeah. Instead, I'm going to pick up Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I did read Project Hail Mary, but it took me like all month to finish, and I think when I finally did finish it, it was actually in September. And Sajni Patel's romance duology, and that is First Love Take 2. Did read First Love Take 2. I have a video planned for that one that still has not come out yet. You see how far in advance I plan sometimes. But I'm gonna be going with All's Well by Mona Awad. Also read All's Well by Mona Awad. Was shocked at how much I adored this book. I still want a physical copy. Which is A Dreadful Splendor by B.R. Myers. Also read A Dreadful Splendor since it was for an ARC reading vlog. That really helps me to actually get my TBR done, is when I have a video planned. An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. And I read An Enchantment of Ravens, but wasn't a big fan of it in the end, unfortunately. And this quarter they are reading Kingdom of Souls by Rena Brown. I started into Kingdom of Souls, but I stretched out reading that for 2 months, 3 months, something like that. Is A Cosmology of Monsters by Sean Hamill, I believe. And I DNF'd to Cosmology of Monsters for what I say is still a very valid reason. If you're interested, I'll link my DNF video in the cards up above. So as I said, excluding those 2 at the beginning, I did fantastic with this TBR. Now on to September. And then finally the winner, which was The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. I did read The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. For that, I decided to go with Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. Also read Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. Attempted to read the 3rd book. We're not going to talk about that though. I decided I need to prioritize a book that I have to get read anyway, and that is Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogle. And read Just Like Magic, which of course I had to because it was Sarah Hogle and I adore her. I believe it was in her tier ranking all of the 2021 releases I've read so far video, which I'm gonna link in the cards up above. In that one, she talked about The Ravens by Kaz Morgan and Daniel Page. Took me longer than I was anticipating, but did read The Ravens. For it. However, I wanted to try and double count one. So, A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallero. Also read A Study in Charlotte, which was a letdown, and I'm still bitter about it. That is Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. Oh, so happy that I had the chance to read Hell Followed With Us. It was fantastic. One of the best books I have read this year. Okay, the rest of this was Pile of Possibilities, but I'm still gonna see. Then Lady Killers by Tori Telfer. I did read Lady Killers. I think for my big book of the month, I am actually gonna be going with The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. Also The Book of Accidents. Finally, the one other possibility I have is Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? Did not read Yinka. This was one that I kept tossing on my pile of possibilities that I don't talk about quite often, and it just never happened, unfortunately. Hopefully I will get it read this upcoming year. We'll see. Through Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. Oh, continued reading Kingdom of Souls, which is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Did read The Weight of Blood, but not in September. I read that as a part of October for the Halloween readathon. Okay, so I did really good with that one, actually. Oh god. Okay, my October TBR, where my best friends picked my TBR, and I did awful. I know this for a fact that I did terrible.
Gideon the Ninth?
No. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir.
Ugh, I still have not read Gideon, and I'm mad at myself about it. I was so proud that I was finally gonna get to it. I bragged about it to our friend Molly, and then never happened.
At least for Allie. Oh, okay, cool. Kat's first book is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
I did read The Midnight Library. It took me until November to finish it, but I read it.
The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune.
Did not read The Extraordinaries, even though that was one of the series that I was prioritizing trying to start, unfortunately.
Yeah, I want to know if this is good or not.
Okay, so None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. This is like young adult Silence of the Lambs.
I read None Shall Sleep, however.
So read it and let me know what's going on.
Will do. Okay, so This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amel El.
And This Is How You Lose the Time War. One of the weirdest books, but I enjoyed it, I believe.
Okay, so Darling Girl by Liz Michalski. This is a Peter Pan retelling.
Also read Darling Girl, though it was fine.
Reading. First off, I'm going to be continuing Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron for the pages and...
Oh, here you go. Continued to read Kingdom of Souls. Like I said, I stretched this for a while.
She went with Five Total Strangers by... Oh, shoot. I don't know who it's by.
I also read Five Total Strangers.
A ARC copy of Ocean's Echo by Everina Maxwell.
And Ocean's Echo, another one that took me quite a while to work through, but that was around the time where I just had a really hard time with ebooks.
I'm going to be reading Confessions by Kanae Minato.
Haven't read Confessions, but that was to some drama, which I talked about in my Halloween readathon vlog.
But I think I'm going to be going with The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson.
As I mentioned, I read The Weight of Blood.
I'm going to be picking up The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor.
Did read The Chalk Man. Gonna be unhauling it though.
Halloween vibes, and I am going to be going with Nomen Omen by Margot Booth.
Also read Nomen Omen, even though I was so determined to finish out the series. Haven't done that.
Faking It Under the Mistletoe by Ashley Shepard. This is a holiday romance, if you couldn't tell from that.
And I also read Faking Under the Mistletoe. Yeah, I can't be too broken up about the fact that I failed that TBR because it was huge. All right, we are on to the last month. I'm not going to do December, seeing as how I'm filming this before December has even officially started, and mostly I'm going to be rereading books anyway.
Right out of the gate, the first book I had to put on this list is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Had to jump on the bandwagon because everybody else had read it by this point.
First, You Can't Be Serious by Cal Penn.
Also read You Can't Be Serious by Cal Penn and have since become obsessed with all of his movies.
This one, Black Nerd Problems by Omar Holman and William Evans.
Black Nerd Problems, which is one I adored and need to get my hands on a physical copy so I can annotate it.
The book I'm going to be reading for this readathon is We Were Dreamers by Simu Liu.
And Buddy read We Were Dreamers by Simu Liu. It was absolutely fantastic. Highly, highly recommend the audiobook for this one.
And the Final Book Support Group's week-long readathon that...
Oh god, I did terrible at the Final Book Support Group, at least based on my plans.
It's going to be A Very Merry Bromance by...
I did read Very Merry Bromance though.
Trilogy, which is Reaper of Souls by Rena Barron.
I started Reaper of Souls and I surpassed the halfway point in that readathon video, but I did not finish it.
The next two volumes of Nomen Omen by Marco Bucci, which,
as I talked about in October, I was so determined to finish out Nomen Omen. That has not happened.
This book, which is Beard With Me, and
I did, however, read both Beard With Me as well as the book after that in the Winston Brothers series, which did finish out that series.
Towards picking up What If You and Me by Ronnie Lauren.
But did not continue in the Say Everything series.
Decided to go with Kiss Her Once For Me by Allison Cochran.
Even though it was the pick for my own book club, I did not read Kiss Her Once For Me in November. I started it. I didn't finish it. I'm currently in the middle of it, actually.
I'm also going to be reading She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan.
For the second November in a row, I have said I was going to read She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan and did not read it. Apparently, I need to read this book in some month that isn't November.
Finally, the last book that I need to get read this month is Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins.
I did read Just Haven't Met You Yet, but that's because it's a Christmas present for somebody, so I kind of had to read it if I want to give it to them on time. So all in all, excluding Final Book Support Group, I did pretty good that month. Thankfully, I am actually pretty good at TBRs. At least that's what it seems like to me off of reacting. Clearly, I haven't actively been keeping count for you. Editing that is going to do that for me. My phone is nearly dead. So on that note, that's all for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!